Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Power Up by PNM podcast hour in partnership with the Hispano Chamber of Commerce, featuring some of our community's favorite leaders and small business owners. So plug in your favorite device, grab a sack lunch and your favorite beverage, and join us every Tuesday at noon to meet the movers and shakers in our community that are not letting anything hold them back. We are here to inspire you to continue to grow and scale your small business venture. Don't forget to call us at 505-842-9003 for all of your PPE supply needs. And for this podcast and any and all other information about the Hispano Chamber of Commerce, visit us at www.ahcnm.org/chamber chat. We'll give you another minute if you are joining us live.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is JP Espinoza, your host for the Powered Up by PNM podcast. And today we're excited because we have a great guest. We have Ann Martinez with U.S. Bank. Hey, but before we get into Ann's story, I just want to share with you that we have a lot of great events. We believe here at the Chamber that you are one connection from making it rain in your business. And one of those events are coming up actually this Thursday, August the 12th. At 5:30 p.m. at the Ponderosa Bruin. It's the Get Crafty Event. This is a really great event where you get to meet business owners in the community, also learn about great things that are happening in our community, so you're not going to miss it. Now, one of our great events that we host right here at the Chamber is our Biz Gratis. It's going to happen next actually a couple of weeks from now, Wednesday, August 25th from 5:30 to 7:30 at Main Event. That's going to be a fun event. You're not going to want to miss that Biz Gratis. Now, we've had over 100 people show up to this event, so if you're looking to meet new people and expand your network, you don't want to miss either one of these. Also, we are your PPE provider here at the Chamber, and if you're in need of PPE, just reach out to the Chamber. We're open from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., but in order for you to get your PPE materials, you may need to qualify, and here, this is how you do it. You have to have under 50 employees. Number two, you got to work. Your business needs to operate in the Bernalillo County or the Albuquerque city limits. You must provide your business information and register online. Now, in our next week's podcast, we have Sherman McCorkle. If you don't know Sherman, he is a mover and shaker, the ultimate rainmaker in New Mexico. This man has so much wisdom and experience. You're not going to miss that podcast. And to look at all the great events that the Chamber is doing, just go to our website, which you're logged on right now on Facebook, but you can find that website at www.ahcnm.org. So for a listing of all of our events, go to our website. Well, today we have a real special guest, Ann Martinez with U.S. Bank. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
We're so glad that you're here and that you're on the board and you're serving. And so it's a great time for you for us to get involved, and you are doing that. You're doing so much in the community. Thank you.
Well, it's nice. U.S. Bank really prides themselves in being active in the community and giving back to the community. So it's a nice way to contribute to the small business here.
Yeah, absolutely. So just kind of get some information. How long have you been with U.S. Bank?
A long time. Actually, I just had my 20-year anniversary last month.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
Yeah, that's a big milestone. So I've been in banking for 23 years. I started at Wells Fargo, and yeah, I've been in the financial industry for a total of 23 years, and I love it. Yeah.
Wow. What attracted you to the banking industry?
You know, that's funny. We had a CEO, Richard Davis, who I admire. He was such a great speaker and inspirational leader. And he used to say that bankers were all accidental bankers. We just kind of fall into it. And that's very true, and it was very true for me. So my background, I actually was 17 years in the retail world.
Oh, wow.
Prior to getting into banking. So I actually was a manager at a grocery store, Albertsons, as a matter of fact. And that was, I'm going to date myself here, but that was years ago that was before Super Walmarts and Targets and all of that. And so we used to get really busy, and I used to manage a team of between 100 and 150 employees.
Oh, wow.
And they all wanted, like, the banker hours.
Sure.
And I used to tell them, you know what, guys, this is retail. We're open 24 hours. If you want those banker hours, you need to go find a banking job. So I took my own advice, and I found a banking job. So I started at Wells Fargo, and I stayed there for a few years, and then I switched over to, it was actually First State Bank. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you're familiar with First State Bank. And then we changed our name to First Community Bank. And then, unfortunately, during the Great Recession, we didn't survive. And U.S. Bank came in and bought us out. And we've been U.S. Bank ever since 2011.
So, man, so that was a really good transition, I would imagine.
It was, and actually they're very similar. It's a customer service
Sure.
industry, and banking is all about relationships,
Yeah.
and so I really like that. I'm a relationship person, and I like to grow and establish relationships with my clients. So it's a good fit for me.
You know what's interesting about banking? I think there's a lot of folks, and really for me included, where it's one of those things that's necessary, but most people don't have a relationship with the banker. There's a lot of people who do, but there's a lot who don't. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this question: what is the benefit of having a relationship with a banker, perhaps at U.S. Bank or any other bank for that matter?
Because our goal is to aid our clients in achieving their goals.
Right.
Right. And so when you have that connection and that relationship where we understand what your goals are, what your dreams are,
sure,
we can help you attain them. Right.
Right.
So knowing, and then let's take a loan for existence. When if I'm writing up for an approval, me having a personal relationship and understanding what drives you, what your business is, how you do your business. If I know everything about it, then I have a better success rate in getting something approved because I understand your business and what your goals are.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this question in terms of what loans, is that a U.S. Bank primarily focuses on, are loans to small businesses?
We do loans to small business. We focus on everything.
Gotcha.
We're a full service bank. So me and my team, we focus on small business. So we do loans currently up to $250,000, and we don't dabble in the real estate.
Right.
We'll refer that out. So if you need to buy a commercial real estate property, we'll bring in one of our partners to help a client with that. So we really do focus on small business and the small business needs. Typically anything from opening a checking account to a savings account, identifying opportunities to streamline their operations for more efficiencies, and then loans up to, like I said, $250,000.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. And so really, what's really interesting is that a lot of small businesses, they have a bank account, but there's a lot of ancillary services that go along with banking, I would imagine.
Oh, banking is so robust. I mean, we have a solution for any type of an issue or that a client could be facing.
Gotcha.
So if you if you send a lot of wires, right?
Yeah.
We have a way for you to do that that's more cost effective for you.
Gotcha.
And actually, through the pandemic, we really spent a lot of our time and resources really updating and kind of escalating our digital platforms. So our mobile app is amazing. It is honestly like you can do everything on the mobile app. It's like a full service bank in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
You can bank anytime, anywhere, and you can apply for anything. You can apply for your loan. You can apply for a credit card. You can apply for, you can apply for the DDA accounts or the savings accounts. So you can do everything on your mobile app.
Has that enhanced the relationship with the banker, or has that taken away from that relationship?
Well, we like to say it's digital plus human, right?
Gotcha.
So because of the pandemic, that kind of forced us to go that direction because people need to have access to their bank account and their funds. And we were open through the pandemic. Our drive-throughs were open and our lobbies were open to appointments. So it was limited to when a customer could do their business.
Right.
So this enabled them to be able to do their business at any time. But you need that human connection, right? Because as you're going through the process, and like I said, banking is all about relationships. So we try at U.S. Bank, even if they do apply online, to do that outreach and call, keep in touch, introduce ourselves, because at some point in time they're going to need that person. And you just can't, a lot of it can be digital,
right?
But you need that person behind you. If you need a question, if there's an explanation you need on something or some clarification for something. We actually offer co-browse as well, which is a unique feature to U.S. Bank, and I think we're the only ones that do it. Is when a client is actually utilizing their mobile app, we have the ability to go in and co-browse with them and see what they're doing, so we can aid them in navigating the digital process. And so that's where that human connection comes in, right? So if they get stuck somewhere along the line or they have a question on something, we can just pop right in there, and we even have virtual co-browse so they can see us. So we're like that virtual banker almost. So technology has really pushed us in, a great direction to where we can offer a lot of services to our clients that we weren't able to offer before. but again, still provide that banker relationship connection that is needed.
Right. Banks played a huge role during COVID. So you guys were really, really busy.
We did.
Yeah, y'all did an amazing job. So, let me ask you this question in terms of, and I know that there's still a lot of rules out there that we got to be careful with because there's still a lot of uncertainty on how banks are approaching lending. But, in terms of how banks, they took a primary role in PPP, in terms of lending out money. But how did that affect the other lines of loans? People expanding their businesses or needing lines of credit. Did that diminish that, or have we seen increases in the expansion loans?
It really depends on the industry.
Gotcha.
So some industries, I think most industries were heavily impacted by the pandemic, and really they were just struggling to keep their doors open and pay their employees, and that's where the PPP funding really came in.
Right.
But there are other industries that did very, very well and grew during the pandemic.
Right.
So it was really industry driven, and so some industries expanded during that time and took additional loans, for that expansion. But I would say most businesses really just kind of buckled down and just tried to survive through it.
Right.
And we're still seeing some of that now. We've gotten everyone through, obviously they've been funded, but now we're kind of going through the forgiveness process. Right?
Gotcha.
So we've got to get them, completely forgiven to take that kind of, it's worrisome, right? They don't want to be carrying that over. They
Sure.
want to get it forgiven. And so we're working diligently to try to get all of those customers that we still have an outstanding loan for kind of move through.
Now, I'll make a call to action for those people who are listening. If you're out there and you applied for a PPP loan and you haven't requested forgiveness, I'm going to encourage you as a community leader, get out there and apply for your forgiveness, because it's really simple, especially if you're under $150,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're under $150,000 in your PPP loan, it's pretty simple, streamlined process. The SBA has made it easy for you.
Oh, yeah. So there's no documentation required under $150,000. It's the simple 3508S form. U.S. Bank, we do it digitally, so we have a digital application. Some financial institutions are doing paper applications, but we chose to do digital just because of the volume
Sure.
of loans that we were processing. It's very simple process. And again, we use that co-browse. If you get stuck somewhere along the way, I can co-browse and go in and help you with the application process to answer the questions, but it's maybe 10 questions.
Yeah.
So it's really not that many, and then documentation isn't required. Once you submit the application with U.S. Bank, we send it directly to SBA. So
Right.
there's no review on our part. It just goes directly to SBA, and we just await their final approval.
For those people who have applied for forgiveness, how long is the approval process? How long are we waiting before we find out whether or not the loan is forgiven?
Well, SBA states they can have up to, I think it's 30 to 60 days that they
Yeah.
have, but we're not seeing that. They're coming back within probably max 7 days.
Oh, wow, to see if it's forgiven or not?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
pretty quick.
It's pretty quick, yeah.
Wow. Okay, because I know there's been folks out there who applied and haven't heard back. Maybe is that maybe bank related, or is it SBA related? Or we see where maybe they applied a couple weeks ago and haven't heard anything.
Well, that may be, based on the complexity of the loan. So
Gotcha.
if it was a loan, over 150,000 that needed like manual reviews,
Sure.
that could really kind of slow things down. They may be doing a paper process as opposed to a digital process, and that
Right.
could slow things down. So it really depends on the process and how complicated the loan. Some of them are claiming a lot of. Most are just what I'm seeing is like payroll costs.
Right.
But some are claiming all the other things that were applicable
Sure.
to the PPP.
Wow. So let me ask you a tough question, right? So there's when I talk to people in the community, they're looking at perhaps getting a loan, whether it's for vehicles or for business loans. And they're saying, hey, before I go to a big bank like U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, perhaps I should go to my credit union. Where does the relationship start with those folks who have a relationship with a credit union and then working through a full service bank like you guys? How does that look?
We try to be competitive in that space, but credit unions, to be honest, usually outcompete us with the
Right.
rates. So if they're looking for rate, they can probably get a better rate at a credit union. I'm just being honest.
Sure.
there. But we actually have other products. Like we have for business, like we have an equipment finance product that's amazing.
Right.
Simple one-page application, anything under 150,000. And we can get it approved like in 2 to 3 hours. I mean,
Oh, wow.
it's really, really a great product. And so we kind of lean on that as our competitor to like the credit unions.
So let's talk about that, because a lot of our members at the Hispano Chamber, we're in construction, or we're in some type of work where contracting, especially because now we're doing a lot of work in government contracting. We're seeing that type of equipment needed as people are securing new equipment. So what you're saying is that if folks need equipment, whether it's vehicles or whether manufacturing some type of equipment, what kind of equipment do you typically see?
All kinds.
Really?
Yeah, there's all kinds. And then we do 100% of financing, then we'll even finance 25% of soft cost. So you can go up to 125%. You will finance the full equipment price, plus say you want to buy all this equipment that's in this room today, right? We'll finance all the equipment, and then we'll finance the shipping, setting it up, the training on it. So up to 25% of that.
Wow, that's pretty huge. So, and it's you can find out within hours.
Typically, it's a really quick turnaround, unless there's some major complication with the business. But typically, it's a pretty quick turnaround time within a couple of hours from application to funding. So it moves pretty quick.
Well, that's pretty great for those business owners who are out there who are saying, "I need to expand and I need equipment." You probably should give Ann a call.
Give me a call, yes.
That's great, and that's wonderful to know. So let me ask you, in terms of the bank, I know that we spend a lot of times on cash flow strategies such as loans, but what are some of the other things that the bank does that most people may not be aware of?
Oh, we do it all. We have obviously the basic products, your checking accounts, your savings accounts, and then we have a suite of treasury management products, and that comes in with how you do business, your operational side of business, right? Do you need to send ACHs? Do you need to send wires? Do you need some type of investment? You have extra funds that you need to earn some extra money, extra interest on. Just full start wealth management,
Right.
So if we can refer you over to a wealth management partner to, make your earnings earn for you. So we're a full service bank. Every possible solution that you need, we have available to you.
Yeah, I think that's where that relationship comes in. So as people start saying, "Hey, I have this issue," they may not be aware that the bank offers those services.
And that, again, right, on the relationship. So that's my job, right? A lot of people don't know what we have to offer.
Right.
And so that's when I go out to visit a business customer, I just start asking about their business. What do you do? Tell me what's important to you. How did you get started in business? What are your financial goals? Tell me how you do your operations. And I just listen. I'll ask questions and I'll just listen. And they may not even know that there's a service that we can provide that's going to help them or even save them money or save them time. That's my job. That's where the relationship comes in. And there's a lot of things that we can identify that's going to make their processes more streamlined, that's going to add time, valuable time back into that business owner's day, and streamline their processes to, that make their jobs easier.
Now, let me ask you, U.S. Bank, so I imagine U.S., the word U.S. tells us is probably coast to coast. How far is your region? How far does U.S. cover?
You know what? We're not.
Really?
No, we're not. We are in 27 states.
Okay.
And we are not in the East Coast.
Gotcha.
So we are the 5th largest bank, but there's billions of dollars between the 4th largest bank and the 5th largest bank.
Right.
So I like to say that we are U.S. Bank is comprised of a lot of community banks. That's how they grew. So in our case, here in New Mexico, we were first community bank, a small a local bank.
Right.
And that's how U.S. Bank, they've grown that way, by acquiring community banks, and they've grown. So you get that kind of big bank, the power of a big bank and all that a big bank has to offer, but you have that community bank feel, because that really does stay prevalent in our everyday interactions.
Oh, that's super powerful. So if does it make sense if a company has regional locations within those 27 states, does that make banking easier, or can just be done locally? So if I want to expand, let's say, to Phoenix, and does it make sense for me to have a U.S. bank there, or should I just stay with my local community bank?
You can stay with your local community bank. Because we have the network, right? So if I am assisting a customer in Phoenix and I'm here, especially with today's technology, again, the pandemic forced us into all of that. So we have the capability of signing docs, through DocuSign.
Right.
So everything can be signed electronically. We do virtual WebEx meetings, right? So I can have a conference call with you virtually, so we can see each other and we can just take care of business. So we can have that long distance relationship because with today's technology, you don't really have to be in person anymore.
Wow. The U.S. Bank has also given a lot back to the Hispano Chamber. So thank you for all your guys' contributions. So, when you're looking at in terms of getting involved in the community, what is the reach of U.S. Bank within the local community? What do you guys sponsor? What are you guys doing in our community?
We do a lot in the community.
Yeah.
And actually, we have a leadership meeting at the beginning of every year because we do get a lot of ask. Right?
Sure.
And so we we put all that together and we take a look at it, and then we decide based on our pillars which what we're going to fund and what we're going to give back to. So we're very involved in a lot of different things within the community, and also not only that from a funding perspective, but we also encourage our employees. We provide 16 hours of paid volunteer time per employee.
Wow.
To get it out into the community. So that's amazing. So every employee, so you think we have, I don't even know, 182 employees in New Mexico, each having 16 hours to go out into the community and volunteer.
Wow.
And then we also have programs like Dollars for Doing,
Sure.
where we actually will pay the employee additional. We'll pay that towards the nonprofit or the company that they are volunteering for. So there's a lot of ways that we actually give back to the community and volunteer in our community.
Well, that is wonderful. You've shared so many different ideas, and so if people are, perhaps nonprofits that are working with U.S. Bank, perhaps there may be some opportunities there.
Right. And we really encourage our employees to take advantage of that 16 hours.
Oh, that's great. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Ann Martinez, the woman in the power that you wield here in New Mexico. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's go to commercial break.
New Mexico has long been a land of potential. We could be this, we might do that, someday. For renewable, affordable energy, someday is today. The PNM parent company is merging with Avangrid, a national leader in clean energy. We'll continue to invest in technology and energy infrastructure benefiting the state. We'll make 100% carbon-free energy by 2040 possible, while keeping bills affordable. New Mexico is more than a land of dreamers. We're doers.
All right, welcome back. So if you missed the first part, we encourage you to go back and listen to this, because Ann really talked about the power of banking and why a relationship with a banker is so important. And if you don't have a relationship with your banker, reach out. And if you need a new banking relationship, I know U.S. Bank would love to talk to you. That's a little plug for U.S. Bank. I'm a big fan of U.S. Bank. You guys do so many great things in the community, so thank you. So Ann, tell me a little about where did you grow up?
So I grew up here. I'm a native New Mexican. I was born in Santa Fe, though we left Santa Fe when I was very, very young. So really Albuquerque is my home.
Yeah.
So I'm a West Sider.
Okay. West Side is the best side.
It is, the 505. I went to Lavaland Elementary, John Adams Middle School, and West Mesa High School.
Wow. So you are rooted right here.
Rooted.
Oh,
Yes,
that's...
I am rooted.
Wow, that is wonderful. So, let me ask you this question. A lot of people say, hey, we saw a couple of years ago where people were leaving New Mexico, and now people are coming back. Let me ask you, and when you look at New Mexico, what do you feel is number one attraction for people to continue to stay and grow here, right, in the land of enchantment?
Well, I think you just said it, the land of enchantment, right? We have so much to offer. Our culture here is amazing. There's so much opportunity here. I think we just need to look into it. I think it's a sad thing that people leave. They graduate college and they leave. I hope that we can do a better job of retaining talent in the state of New Mexico.
Yeah.
But there's just so many resources available to up and comers. There's a lot of job opportunities, and actually right now, especially, there's a lot of job opportunities. At U.S. Bank, we have a ton of open positions, and I think that's across the board everywhere, right? So there's, and I have even an open position for a business banker. So, and that's a pretty decent job, right?
Yeah.
So if there's tons of opportunity, if people just want to, stay and look, there's a lot of availability and opportunity here.
Let's talk about that, because I know that and the number one thing I hear from employers as I'm having discussions throughout the state is that we need employees. We need people to come back to work. So let's talk a little bit about the business banker opportunity. What does the business banker opportunity do, and what's required for them to come talk to you and perhaps apply for a job?
So as I said, we build the relationships with our
Gotcha.
with our business clients. So we focus on small business. We prefer a college degree, but you don't necessarily need a college
Right.
degree. We do train. You don't necessarily have to even have banking background. I hired a young man just recently who's doing amazing and no banking background whatsoever, and he's doing a remarkable job already. But we just, as I said, we build a relationship with our customers. We identify opportunities, and we offer banking product as a solution to their needs.
For those who may be wondering how much a business baker makes, I know there's a big range and it depends. I know there's a lot that goes into it, but what kind of income does a business baker make?
We base it off of whatever level. So I have a BBS 1, 2, and 3. This posting is for a BBS 2. And so the range can be based off of, if they have experience or don't
Sure,
have
yeah.
experience. But it can range anywhere between 48 and probably 55.
That's a good living wage. That's
I mean,
great.
to get started. And the BBS position isn't, it's not an entry level position,
Right.
but it's not like the top level
Sure.
position, right? So it's, I think, a good starter position for someone who's interested in getting into banking.
So tell me, you talked to me, by the way, for those people who are looking for an opportunity, you need to reach out to Ann, because not only is U.S. Bank a great employer, Ann's a wonderful person to work for. So you want to reach out. That's a big plug for you, Ann.
That's a plug. I like that.
So let's talk about your journey, right? So you went from Albertsons to banking, right?
I did.
What kind of skill sets did you need in order for you to really grow your career?
People skills.
People skills.
You need people skills in both industries, but I think in banking it's even more so. So what I pride myself on is, one, there's two things that are important to me: developing my team,
Yeah.
and then my customers,
Right.
and having them reach their goals. In both, I want my team to reach their business goals, and then I
Right.
want them to reach their personal goals for themselves.
That's right.
And then for my customers, I want them, again, to reach their business goals and then whatever dreams they have, either personally or for their business. And so you have to have people skills. You have to really listen and work hard to develop. I think it's important as a leader that you develop your team,
Yeah.
and that you listen to your team, and that you're always focused on managing to their strengths.
Yeah.
So that's really important. And then on working with customers, it's all about the customer and what they need.
You bring up such a great point. I have the privilege to lead over 80 people here in New Mexico in terms of, business development, sales, and whatnot. And people skills are super important. As a leader, perhaps that business owner who's out there and they're saying, I do need to help my people develop their skill sets. What are some things that you can share with them that say, hey, this is probably one of the key areas that you may want to help your people grow in, specifically the people skills?
I think it's listening.
Yeah, that's so important.
Listening to your team, and I think you need to really make them feel valued.
Yeah.
So I think there's a big difference between a manager that's task oriented, getting things done, and then leading, which
Sure.
is all about listening to them, having that open door policy so that they can come in and talk to you, encouraging them and making sure that they're on a development plan, knowing what their development plan is, being engaged with them. So it's, I think your employees are your most valuable asset.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's, I think, your most expensive asset.
Yes,
as well.
indeed.
And so they're the face of your company. And so you don't want to just bring them in and then forget about them,
Yeah.
right? You really need to listen to them and so that they feel important, they feel empowered. And a lot of times I always like to think that I like to hire people smarter, brighter, more
Yeah.
passionate than I am,
That's
because
right.
they're going to make my job a lot easier. And a lot of times I learn from them, right? So constantly learning. You don't ever want to think that I know more than anybody else.
Right.
That I'm always open and I'm willing to learn along with my team.
So what are some of the things that you do to further your own development? Do you read a lot of books, or
I do read a lot of books.
talk to me about it? Tell me about some of the books that have inspired you.
Actually right now we're reading a book. It's called, I think it's The Health of Business.
Okay.
And we're reading it for work. And he was the CEO of Best Buy, and he turned Best Buy around.
Come on.
And it's a very interesting read, and because it's a different take on capitalism. and it's not really focusing on the bottom line
Sure.
and the revenue, but it's focusing on the people.
Yeah.
And just making some changes in your leadership to put that focus on people, because his view is if you put people first, if you put your employees first, and you really listen to them, you really develop them, then the revenue will come,
Yeah.
right? And the shareholders will be taken care of. So it's just kind of a different mindset of, and it's kind of hard to let go, right? Because capitalism is all
Yeah.
about shareholders and
That's right.
and the bottom line. But I agree with, I'm halfway through the book, but it's really interesting, his perception and what he's done in his career to change these corporations from failing corporations using this, how putting people first
Yeah.
mindset.
It's interesting. There's this book called Scaling Up. I think the author is, and I'm going to butcher this name, Verning Harnish, I believe it is. And he wrote a book called Scaling Up. And what's really fascinating about this book, he talks about the most important aspects of business, which is cash flow and building the internal mechanisms and systems and processing. But he builds it around people, right? Because what good is cash flow if your people don't know how to execute those different strategies? So he spends a lot of time focusing on how did the people aspect of business really play and impact bottom line. And I know I won't say I won't think, because I know 100% that you're correct, is investing in your people is huge. It's really interesting in terms of my own leadership journey. Listening is so vital where people feel valued, but also giving them the opportunity to contribute.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that's huge, because I think there's a lot of people who have what I call imposter syndrome, right? Where they feel that maybe they're not good enough, or they're not smart enough, or they don't have enough experience. And so they constantly talk themselves down. And I think it's something special when you go to someone that you believe and say, hey, I trust you with this task, or trust you to achieve this goal to move the business forward. There's a deep sense of ownership that comes with that.
And I think you have to give them ownership opportunities, right? To
Yeah.
develop, it helps develop their skill set, right? And then it actually takes work off my plate, right?
You betcha.
When I let them run with something, and then it gives them that sense of great responsibility and pride,
Right.
that I trust them and that they're figuring something out on their own. Yeah, so I think that's a great way to develop their leadership skills as well.
Let me ask you this. How important is corporate culture or business culture within an organization?
Number one.
Number one.
Yeah, I would say. That startled me. I wasn't expecting that.
We're in Barelas. Big shout out to our sound engineer, Paco. That is fun.
That's funny. I think it's the number one thing.
Yeah, it's the number one thing, business culture and culture within the organization. And I believe that's right, because when an organization grows, I believe it's a big part of people standing behind that culture, our values, our beliefs, and our work ethic. I believe that's really important. I believe that comes from the top.
It does come from the top. And it's funny that employee that I was talking about that I hired in with no banking experience, when he was telling me his story, the company that he came from was just a toxic environment and a toxic culture. And everyone left. I think of his team that he worked with, I think there was 14 or 15 people on the team, and everyone has gone. So that's what a bad culture will do.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
In a toxic environment. And then he comes over to U.S. Bank, and he's like, gosh, I can't believe the difference.
Yeah.
You know, and even though he has a lot to learn, the culture is what's driving it, right? That we're very much a team. You know, our motto in our team is, no man left behind. We're going to do everything to pull everybody up, and everyone's going to reach their goals. And if someone's struggling, we're going to reach out as a team and grow that person, push that person up. And so he's not used to that environment. He's never had that environment before. It's always been everyone for themselves, and that's not the culture of U.S. Bank. It's all one bank. We partner very well with all of our partners and all of our, different departments. It's all about giving that one bank experience to our clients. So it's, reaching a helping hand out.
Yeah, as you're talking, there's a couple of books that come to mind. I love to read. I try to order 34 books a month if I can get to them. But one of the books that popped in my mind as you were talking is something called Fierce Conversations. And as a leader, sometimes those conversations are tough. I believe that was the number one thing I struggled with in leadership is By nature, I'm a people pleaser, and one day I was beating myself up because I was like, man, I'm just a people pleaser. And, for some reason we have this negative connotation that people pleasers are bad. And I had this corporate executive tell me one time, he says, but didn't it get you to where you are today? Because at the heart of it, you want to serve people. And I thought, well, that was pretty cool. But, having a fierce conversation with a tough matter can be really, really difficult. Have you had any experience in that? And if so, like, how did you work through that? Because I know as business owners have to have fierce conversations every day with not only their employees, but with their customers, right, and things of that nature.
And you do, and with both, right? I've had to have tough conversations with team members, and I've had to deliver bad news to customers. And so it's all about how you deliver it.
Sure.
Right. And I always tried, sometimes you have to be very direct,
right?
And I can be very direct,
sure,
because I like for people. I don't believe like sugarcoating a lot of things really is helpful. I think if you just set, you lay it out there what the expectation is, and then you manage to that expectation.
Right.
And same with like customers. Sometimes, telling customers that they weren't approved for a loan can be an uncomfortable conversation,
right,
especially the reason why. But, there's typically a reason why. Maybe it's not a good time in a customer's financial time in their life,
right,
or extra debt, right? And so how we approach that conversation. But I like to say maybe it's no for now, but not no for forever.
Right,
It's just not right now,
That's
And
good.
so let's look at some opportunities or some ways that we've identified that we can work on these areas. So maybe within 6 months to a year, we may have a better opportunity at that. So we always are trying to find a solution around it.
Right. I love to say delay is not denial.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I use a lot. Delay is not denial. But you're exactly right. Going back to expectations. Expectations are huge, and I found out when I'm onboarding a new employee, it's really important to lay out what those expectations are, because the conversations are not as fierce when everybody knows with clarity what the objectives and the job description and what they need to do are. And I'm sure that goes into a lot of the work that you do, is just, hey, here are the expectations with clarity. And at the end of the day, we have to hit this goal.
Right.
Right.
And everything's about goals, right?
Sure.
But actually with U.S. Bank, we rolled out another coaching system, which I actually really, really like, and it's coaching to strengths.
Yeah.
And I am so on board with this because, I have strengths and I have weaknesses,
Sure,
right? So we all went through the Clifton Strength. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it, yeah.
So all of our employees went through that, and we got all of our top 10 strengths. And it's really kind of a different approach on managing to an employee's strengths,
mm-hmm,
and focusing in on that as opposed to focusing on areas of opportunity. And you still want to address those, but I think when you manage to an employee's strengths, they're more productive,
Sure,
right? Because they're doing something that they like, that they're comfortable with doing, right? And so every time I have a coaching session with any of my team members, I really kind of keep in mind what their strengths are, or even if I'm assigning out or delegating tasks, right?
Right.
That plays into who I'm going to assign something to based off of if it's something that they're comfortable doing or not comfortable doing, right? Because they may be very task oriented and are behind the scenes wanting to get things done, and I may have some people that love to do presentations, and so I'm going to task the person that loves to do presentations with putting together my PowerPoint presentation as opposed to crunching numbers in the back.
No, that's super powerful. Matter of fact, I've gone through a lot of levels of coaching in terms of leadership and how to coach professionals, and we use something called the CASH system, and I don't know if you've heard of that, and it's KASH, and it stands for knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits. And so when we're working with someone, the very first thing we ask ourselves, was this a knowledge issue or an attitude issue? Did they have the information they needed to make the decision, or they just avoided it? And the second, so if you look at knowledge and attitude, below that, is it a skill set or is it a habit? Can we help increase the skill set based on the knowledge or attitude that they have to hit the goal? And what kind of habits do they have? And when we begin to filter this out, we're able really to help that person grow and move forward and accomplish their goals. And because at the end of the day, if it's about them, they got to figure out how they're a contributor to the organization, but how are they contributing to their future? So,
is that a book?
I don't know if it's
podcast?
Well, it was a series that we purchased at our office. I don't know if it's quite a book, but they had a lot of training material on it.
That may be something I want to look into. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was really neat. And based on how the employee answers, or the person you're coaching answers, you can really diagnose real quick. Was it a knowledge issue or an attitude issue? And what I found oftentimes, that if most people have a really good attitude, it either falls into a knowledge or a skill set issue. And then that's really fascinating, because we can drive the skill sets and we can drive the knowledge. We can't drive the attitude and the habits. And so when you begin to look at how it shifts, is really encouraging people to say, okay, that path of self-discovery, if they really want to grow, and by leading them to discover the fact that, say, maybe perhaps I need to form better habits.
Right.
So it's really fascinating when you get into coaching and mentoring people, because there's so many things that an employee brings to the table. A lot of times they bring their personal lives to the table, and yet they're tasked to perform.
Yeah. I heard one of my managers years ago in the retail business, one of the best lessons, I think, I learned a lot from him, even though that was a really tough business. But one of the things he told me is, and when you walk in those doors, you hang your personal outside. And when you walk in these doors, it's all about the business and the customers.
Yeah.
And I've just carried that with me throughout my entire career. So I really try not to bring personal, and I coach my team to that too. It can be overwhelming if you try to deal with all your personal issues while you're trying to deal with work. And so I find that if you keep them separate, it's much easier to navigate. Yeah,
and you can see those people who really do that. They're the ones who excel the greatest, because they know that, they're dealing with stuff, but yet whether they're getting paid for that time, or whether they're getting, they have to perform to make sure they, hit the goals. I do believe that. And I think that's a personal choice that we have to do, is make sure we compartmentalize.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, we have to compartmentalize it. Just put that on hold until I get off of work.
Yeah. And then pick it up at the door when you walk out the door.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So, man, and this has been really great. So what I want to do, we're going to go to one more quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about your relationship with the Hispano Chamber and how people can get involved, and what your suggestions are.
All right.
Let's go to commercial break.
New Mexico has long been a land of potential. We could be this. We might do that someday. For renewable, affordable energy, someday is today. The PNM parent company is merging with Avangrid, a national leader in clean energy. We'll continue to invest in technology and energy infrastructure benefiting the state. We'll make 100% carbon-free energy by 2040 possible, while keeping bills affordable. New Mexico is more than a land of dreamers. We're doers.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We are with Ann Martinez with U.S. Bank, and she shared some knowledge in this last segment that talked about how to develop your team, because your people is what drives your success and your profit of your organization. So right now, Ann, we talked a lot about U.S. Bank. We talked about people development, but let's talk about community development for a moment. So Hispano Chamber of Commerce, the greatest organization in New Mexico. I'm very biased. I'm very proud of this organization. Earlier when we were during one of our breaks, we were talking about that you realize that a lot of people don't realize what we do here at the Chamber. You want to expound on that a little bit?
And that's very true. So I've been with the Chamber. I'm a newbie, right?
Yeah.
So I onboarded during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so last month was the first in-person board meeting that I've been to, and that was really amazing. Much different than the Zoom meetings.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, very much different. And I love the enthusiasm. I love the collaboration. But during this time, just listening in because prior to me joining the board, I really wasn't aware of all that we did here.
Right.
And I'm in awe.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just, we do so much to help business customers from everything, from every aspect of business, from a startup to a business that's been, running for multiple years. There's not anything that we can't help them with. Or if we can't do it, we're going to find someone that can do it. So it's just connections. It's all about connections. And so I encourage, my business customers, when I'm having a conversation, it's really opened my eyes. It's like, hey, are you involved with the Chamber? Now that's part of my conversation now, because I think there's a lot of great things that business owners can take advantage of that they're probably just not aware of.
Oh no, I agree with you 100%. The work that the chamber does just blows my mind. And I believe it's because we have a really great staff led by Ernie Citabacca, and we got people like Paco over here. We give a big shout out to Paco. Right, you hear him hollering in the background, but we have so many wonderful people here. But we have an amazing board, and sometimes I sit in that board meeting, and I'm sitting here like, how in the world did I become the chair of this great organization? Because I feel so small working with so many successful people.
When I was looking around the room, and it's a large board.
Yeah.
The depth of knowledge with all of the board members is amazing, and I was in awe of that as well. And I got to meet a few of them. I didn't stay long enough to meet everybody, but just in their engagement and that's really important too. They're an engaged board.
Yes.
Right. I've been on some boards that they're just not engaged.
Yeah.
And it shows, right? Because it's just not as active as isn't as successful as it could be. So the
Right.
board really does make a difference. But I'm going to agree with you. I think Ernie is an amazing person to be in the role that he's in because his energy is just contagious, right? And so I think the combination between the two is just amazing.
And for those people who are members and you're watching this podcast, I want to tell you that as a member myself, our board goes to great length to make sure that we protect our membership and to help grow our membership with all the different resources. One of the resources I want to bring to the table is the procurement series. This is where we help our members gain and win government contracts from start to finish. And I was really proud because this past year during the COVID, we relaunched, actually it was this year, February, we launched a procurement series for the first time. And we had one of our members, our very own members here at the chamber who was not in government contract. By the end of that 12-week series, they learned everything they needed to win a contract and won a $2 million government contract. And, because of the leadership of Shannon Hawkes, who's the community development liaison here, she's done an amazing job. And I believe we have another procurement series that's going to get started. Also, one of the big things that we saw during the COVID response is the Avanzad program. This is where we help small businesses grow from $1 million in revenue to hopefully $5 to $10 million of revenue. So we saw 6-7 graduates come through that program. So we're doing a lot of amazing things to help businesses grow. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, in terms of why the membership, why the chamber is important to business. What would you say about that? Why should someone get involved with the chamber?
Why shouldn't they?
Come on now. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, because there's no downside. Right?
There's no downside.
There is no downside to it whatsoever. They offer everything. So if you want to, right, you got to grow your brand.
Right.
There's tons of opportunity, networking opportunities. You just listed a ton of them coming up at the beginning of the piece here. The engagement, all of that you just mentioned, the procurement side. There's so much to learn. There's so much available. So there's not a downside for any business to even just go onto the website, browse around, see what all there is that can be offered. Get involved and take advantage of some of the things.
No, absolutely. I remember when I started my career in the insurance business 20 years ago, my manager says, hey, I was asking him, how do I meet people? What do I need to do? And he said, I never forget, he's like, you're Hispanic. Why don't you just go join the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce? I'm like, I was sitting there like, well, I guess that kind of makes sense. But, I tell this story all the time. I tell people that if it wasn't for, the Hispano Chamber of Commerce, I wouldn't be in business. It meant that much to me throughout my career. And over the last, I've been in business now 22 years. I don't think there's a year that I have not been a member of a chamber institution, whether it was Texas or here in New Mexico. It makes that big of a difference. But people often ask, like, I pay my membership dues, but I may not get value out of it. And, what I tell those members is that, well, that tells me that you're not involved.
Right.
Because if you're involved, you will get a tremendous amount of value.
Right. And I was going to say that, if you're a member, be involved, because then you're definitely get your money's worth if you're involved in it.
And I think a lot of times we feel that maybe my voice doesn't count, or there's just so many, like, I don't know how to get involved. And what I tell people is show up to the Biz Gratis, show up to the Get Crafty, show up to all the different events that we do. And believe it or not, you're going to find your place there.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And then you're having fun along the way. I mean, those are
Yeah.
fun things to go to.
I think that was, I remember, man, you bring back some really great memories. So early on, there was about, I had just joined, and I think my first year as a chamber member, the year was like 1999, maybe 2000.
You're dating yourself.
Yeah, I know. And I was scared as heck. I remember going to my very first networking meeting, and I was kind of like, I don't know what to say. Look at all these people. They're so successful. And I just felt like, oh man, like how am I going to be able to engage? But you know what I did is I found a couple of people through the ambassador program. And what our ambassadors do here at the chamber is that they go to these events and they welcome you if you're a first time guest.
Good.
And we have a wonderful ambassadors program. Matter of fact, we're doing a big ambassadors program this Thursday at the chamber from 11 to 1. So if you're an ambassador or you want to learn more about the ambassador program, come out and meet some really great people. But it wasn't. It was because of the ambassadors who took me by the hand and introduced me personally to one person at a time. And then what ended up happening is I kept on coming back, and there was about 4 or 5 of us who kind of banded together. And guess what? We went out there and we formed like a study group. We formed connections. We formed relationships. And that's how I was able to really build relationships in the community. So it's pretty simple.
Yeah, and that's a good lesson for everybody, right? You know, it starts with one person. Meet one person, and then you just kind of go from there, right? It's connections.
You know, Ernie says all the time, we're one connection away. And I believe that with all my heart. We are one connection away. You know, since then, the opportunities really grow, because as you form those connections, when you as a personally, when I came across opportunities, immediately I go to my network. Who can help me fulfill this opportunity? And I know I've reached out to you personally on some things. Yeah. You know, and those pay big dividends. So let me ask you, if we have people who are out there who are wondering, like, you know, what value has the chamber brought to you? What kind of value has the chamber brought to U.S. Bank and to Ann?
You know, for me personally, it's just really, one, it's helped me build my network, right? Because I just got introduced to however many people on the board that I didn't know before, right? So going back to those connections, right? So now they're in my book of connections and my network, you know, and as you grow and establish those relationships. And then for U.S. Bank, you know, we're very similar, right?
Sure.
The chamber wants to be involved in the community and support small business. U.S. Bank wants to be involved in the community and support small business. So we're very like-minded in that way. So my thing is just, you know, if you haven't heard about the chamber, if you haven't experienced or been involved, go to the website, attend an event, because I think once you do, it's contagious. You know, I'm real excited about it. And I think business customers would be as well. Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. As we come to a close, you know, there's a lot of people out there who are concerned about this Delta variant and how it may impact their business. And here at the chamber, we're actually having key conversations on the board about how do we help our small businesses or privately owned businesses combat this Delta variant in terms of their operation, making sure it doesn't stun growth. What would you tell our listeners from a sense of encouragement and encouraging them on, you know, what they should, in the right frame of mind, what should they consider as we face this uncertainty?
You know, I think everything kind of goes back to attitude. You can be afraid, or you can tackle it, right? And I think most businesses, they're entrepreneurs. They're going to tackle it, right? They're not going to back into a corner. They're going to say, bring it on. That's right. And I mean, I was like really impressed and encouraged through the pandemic how many businesses quickly adjusted, right? Because they had to, right? If they didn't do social media before, they were on social media. If they didn't do customer loyalty things, they started doing customer loyalty. You know, any way to adjust to keep revenue flowing. So entrepreneurs, they're going to have that spirit. That's right. That's bred into them, and they're going to do well because that's what they do.
You know what I love about New Mexico?
Everything.
I'll tell you, we're people of resolve.
Yes.
We won't back down for a fight. No, we're going to press right in. We are New Mexicans, right?
That's true.
That's right. You know, I believe that we are New Mexico strong. We're New Mexico true. I believe that with all my heart. And I do believe that New Mexicans, that we will figure out a way on how to win, because that's what we do.
I agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. I'm very proud to be a New Mexican. I'm very proud to be doing the job that I'm doing and supporting our business community.
Well, Ann, it's been such a delight to have you on the show today. We're excited that you spent some time with us.
I've had fun. Thank you.
Well, good. You know, we thank you for your contribution to this board. We thank you for all that you do for our community and what U.S. Bank has done. You guys play a big role in our success, so thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Ann Martinez with U.S. Bank, she shares a lot of great ideas on, banking strategies, on people development and community development. I encourage you to re-listen to this broadcast, because you definitely don't want to miss any of those wisdom nuggets. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are the Hispano Chamber of Commerce. We are strong. We are powerful. We are New Mexicans. And I want to tell you, we are New Mexico strong. And so regardless of where you're at in terms of your business, the Hispano Chamber is here to serve you. We believe with all of our heart that you're one connection away, and we believe in facilitating that connection. So get involved and let the Chamber be your resource for growth, because we are the Business Development Center of New Mexico right here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we want to see you succeed. So this is JP Espinosa with the Powered Up by PNM. We look forward to seeing you next week with Sherman McCorkle. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for the Power Up by PNM podcast hour in partnership with the Hispano Chamber of Commerce. And again, a big shout out to our sponsor, the folks at PNM, who help keep your businesses energy efficient. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday at noon to hear from those in the community that are moving us forward. And for more information about the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce, call us at 842-9003 or visit us online for more information at www.ahcnm.org. And to replay this podcast, add a /chamber chat.